Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in streaming and video on-demand horror movies. Each week, my co-host, Jeff Mohr, Crystal Cleveland, and myself, of course, Crystal Regina Mohr, too, who's not with us tonight, sadly. We'll take a look at various spooky, scary, gory genre offerings. Tonight, we're reviewing A Wounded Fawn, streaming on SHUDDER. All right, joining me tonight is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very good.
Very
Finished
good.
off all the leftovers and all that stuff from last week.
I hope so. How long do those leftovers last?
Well, when there's only two of you,
they last longer. Also joining us is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm kind of glad Thanksgiving is over, so I'm ready to get on with Christmas.
You ready for your happy holidays?
Get it? Yeah.
Yes,
now it's time.
Now we got a month full of murderous Santas to watch. Yes, yay! All right, but until then, we are here to review A Wounded Fawn, streaming on SHUDDER. This is going to be fun. We're going to start off giving you our first impression. That will be spoiler-free. There's Santa, yes.
I wounded Santa.
And then we'll dive into a discussion. We might get into some spoilers. It's kind of going to be kind of unavoidable at this movie, so we'll do that. And then we'll wrap up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, share with a friend. And every little click helps. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers, and only you watching can help us do that. So we appreciate it greatly. All right, let's jump into the card and get things going. A Wounded Fawn in 2022. SHUDDER, available on SHUDDER beginning December 1st, 2022. There's a lot of 2022s in that. Synopsis: a serial killer brings an unsuspecting new victim on a weekend getaway to add another body to his ever-growing count. She's buying into his faux charms, and he's eagerly lusting for blood. What could possibly go wrong? Directed by Travis Stevens, written by Nathan Baudree and Travis Stevens. I don't know that's how you pronounce his name, but we'll go with it.
Pretty good.
Yeah, all right. Starring Sarah Lynn, Josh, Ruben, Malin, Barr, among a few others. All right, this is going to be a lot of fun. Crystal, why don't you start us off and give us your first impression of A Wounded Fawn?
Okay, so let me start off by saying, if you don't like Giallo films, you're not going to like this film. I, however, do like Giallo films, and I love this film. Like this is a modern day Giallo film. Like it in the beginning, it starts out and it's not quite as clear that it is, and then as the movie moves more and more into it, it gets more and more absurd and more red and that hyper color and more Giallo as it progresses and continues. I mean, you can even kind of tell the blood even starts to get redder. It's really crazy. I wasn't sure how I felt about this film at first, but I do. I really like this film. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. I can tell that it's all about an unreliable narrator. And typically I usually have a problem with those. I'm not crazy about them, but in this case, since the whole film is wrapped around this weird, unreliable narrator, I kind of am okay with it. And then they kind of brought it back to reality at the end, and I liked that too. Mm-hmm. So it's about this serial killer, which you already know, and he's apparently a huge art fan, and he goes out on a date with I don't know who the actress is. She did great. So Josh was amazing. I think he did an excellent job. There was a point where he was sitting at the table and they did this effect on him where I was like, yeah, that's actually really good. I think the effects were good. There's not a whole lot. Now this isn't to say that the movie doesn't have its faults. Okay. There is some points where I felt like it was kind of absurd. and it was absurdly shot. I feel like had they gone full giallo sooner, it would have looked better. There's a scene where there's a sheet and there's a projection on it, and it looks silly. I thought that actually looked silly, and it kind of took me out of the movie. But I think had it been shot a little bit more, little bit more weird, a little bit more off kilter, I think it would have worked a little bit better. But that's to be expected. I mean, I feel like giallo is like hard to capture in modern day for some reason. I think you can ride this fine line, and I think that they did it. Whoever made it, I'm really bad about these names. I never learn the names. I should, but I think they did a really good job with this film. I think that the brunette, his co-star, did an excellent job. I mean, she was fabulous too. The blonde in the beginning, she was great. As the Fury, I mean, we can't all be scary. Like, it's maybe not in her wheelhouse, and that's okay. I think had they put a mask, or I think she was the dog face one. So basically, it's a revenge of three Furies is what the whole concept of this movie is. Whether that's real or not, that's up to you to decide. But like I said, unreliable narrator, and each of these women kind of signifies one of these Furies. They kind of take the role of them in this revenge film. It's really a revenge film. Yeah. Okay, I'm kind of just keep going around. I really, but overall, I have a lot to say because I liked it. Like I said, I watched it and I was like, this is weird. I don't know how I feel about this. How do I feel? No, I liked, and as it went on, and actually when the credits, that end credit scene, that's when it all, like, for some reason, that one long scene just made everything make sense.
Just all came together, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, Travis Stevens, the director, also did Jacob's Wife, which we reviewed
I
a year or
love
so ago.
Jacob's
We
Wife
liked it. Yep.
too.
All right, Jeff, what was your first impression of A Wounded Fawn?
And he also directed Girl on the Third Floor, which we reviewed too
Yeah.
a few years ago. So anyway, I like this too. The first time through it, this is one I watched it twice,
You watched
and
it
now
twice?
I'm gonna watch it again, and I'll tell you why. Because I knew that there was some connection to Greek mythology, but I couldn't quite get it, the pronunciations of the names they were using. So now when I look it up, it makes a whole lot more sense what was going on. So I liked, as you said, I liked Sarah Lind as the lead. Josh Ruben was great playing this sort of charismatic yet creepy around the edges character that was like, wait a minute. Sarah Lind, and then Malin Barr was the one at the auction that purchased the statue. I enjoyed this a lot. I see where you're going with the giallo stuff. There's lots of the pools of blood and stuff like that were pretty cool, and some really weird weapons and effects. It wasn't like a huge. And then I'm with you. The final scene, I couldn't take my eyes off it.
Yeah.
I couldn't take my eyes off it. I thought that was so well done. But I'm not sure about unreliable narrator. I mean, I think maybe he was unreliable narrator part of the time, but then was she too? Because she was
no, but most of the time I feel like most of it was through him.
So anyway, I liked it. I liked it the first time. I watched it a second time because I'm like, I'm missing something here, and liked it better the second time. And now that I've read about the mythology, I'm going to watch it again.
Yay!
Yeah,
it makes so much sense.
I don't know if I'll watch this again. I might. I enjoyed this movie, but it frustrated me so much watching it because it would teeter from being like actually brilliant to kind of terrible. There were moments where it was like shite going. To me, it wasn't cohesive. But at the same time, it's for a good part of it, it's a two-hander, right? between Josh and Sarah until, well, there's a little like stuff in the front, and then the last act is
Until Act 2.
is
Yeah.
is batshit. But I don't know. There was times when it totally had me, and then the next scene would come along, like The Sheet, for example, is a good example, and it would totally lose me. And I go, well, I'm not okay. Got to be consistent here. And then some of the some of the mass stuff would work, other things wouldn't. Some of the things he would encounter were frightening and interesting, like the dog face thing, and then other things were, well, that wasn't very good. So I found myself being drawn in and thrown out and drawn in and thrown out. It wasn't a very consistent experience for me. Having said that, the main two characters, right, Sarah Lind, the actress, and Josh Ruben, the actor playing the victim and the serial killer, they're remarkable, and their interaction is interesting. Then he starts to kind of go bonkers. We know why, because we've seen it happen, and then we see those things happen again, and then she starts to get suspicious because of this phone call, and so their characters evolve in this short amount of time, and their relationship evolves, or devolves in this case, in a short amount of time. And that was really fascinating. I enjoyed that the most, is when the more she got suspicious, right? Once it gets into the hallucinatory kind of stuff, it was give or take. Sometimes it really worked, and when it worked really well. And then when it flopped, it not so much. So it frustrated me. But in the end, I think it's a good movie. I really like it. I would recommend it. If nothing else, just for the performances and just some of the ballsiness of what they're going after with this character.
Yeah.
And the end, I don't know if you guys saw, well, I'm not even going to mention it yet. I'll mention it later, but that's my first impression.
Well, first impressions is done, so mention it. What?
Okay.
Did it remind you of something? Because it reminded me of something too.
It did. And I'm forgetting the name of it. It's a sequel to X. What was the name of that?
Pearl.
It came out this Pearl. Thank you. So at the end of Pearl, it has a similar concept of a finale where, as the credits roll, Pearl just sits there and stands there and smiles very uncomfortably, and it is the most uncomfortable 5-10 minutes of film I think I've ever seen in my life. This comes close to that, this film, but just because of her expression and her tear coming down her face, wins. But to me, they do the same thing.
I like Pearl a lot, but this really got to me. This one
did it? Yeah. So I found it not as, I don't know. It to me, it almost went on too long, to where instead of being, it almost became
point, though. That's
incredibly
the point.
silly.
This is see, anyone who it's giallo in its storytelling too. The whole thing. It's like, so it's off. It's just off, and it's meant to be off, and it should be off, and it feels off. And I totally think that that was absolutely intentional. It was, and I love.
I like the fact that
I don't know. It just totally worked for me. Yeah, it was so fun. And it at first it made me laugh, and then it made me be like, why? And then I'm like, okay. I don't know. Okay. So I wish I could remember the movie that it's making me think of. It's an 80s movie. And we've reviewed it on Decades of Horror 80s, where this woman has this fit on the ground. Remember, Jeff? And she's just rolling around on the ground for like forever, just having this fit. And it reminded me of that. Just this weird, uncomfortable.
I'm not remembering, but
I loved also the weapon that he used. At first it kind of had a little Freddy feel, but I mean, it's nowhere near Freddy's claws. But it's like they're like what are those? The things on your that go. How do you not
brass knuckles with claws?
Brass knuckles. Thank you. That's it.
Okay.
I was like, how do you not know? Yeah, the brass nut. Those, I think that was like kind of a cool.
Because you don't,
weapon.
at least me, I didn't get it at first what it was. You
Oh
know, and,
yeah, it's such a great weapon
yeah,
because it makes it so easy for him to like. But also the red owl was amazing. I loved it. I don't know what that represents. I quite frankly I don't care what it represents. If it's his like it's his internal, desires obviously, and then he cuts it out. The whole thing is really good. Like
The
there's so much to it.
Yeah, but some of the stuff like totally threw me. Like when they take the head off of the owl, I'm like,
right.
I don't
That's
know if what I'm supposed to do here. How am I
well,
supposed to take this
okay.
thing? And I'm not really
See?
sure.
And once again, I don't think it was look how much good gore they had up to that
Mhm.
point. I totally think this is just an homage to like, late 70s, early 80s. It's weird. That's what that thing is. It's like it's not what he thinks it is. I think is the whole point there. They're like autopsying it, or doing an autopsy on it or deconstructing it, and then he sees what this owl really is. Whatever. I mean, I could just keep going on. I liked it.
Yeah.
I think the
I
story's cool, but I
there
get how you could not like it. 'Cause
yeah
it's
there
weird.
are a couple moments that actually really got me like a reaction out of me. There's more. So after he gets hit in the head with the frying pan, right,
Mhm.
and he wakes up
Mhm.
and he pushes the
The
skull back
brain.
on. Well, he
Oh no,
pushes
he
the
got
skull
hit.
back in
She
place.
hit him in the head with the. I thought she hit him in the head with the
Was it the
statue.
statue?
Oh,
Yeah,
was it
the
the statue? Okay.
Yeah.
And he pushes the skull back into place, and that starts. He has those strobe kind of effects happen when that
Yeah,
happens.
yeah.
And it
Those are
goes into the hallucination. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I
And
don't even know if I can say it now.
yeah, but so that I was like, oh, and then later he digs, but that really got me. But
Which the digging. Oh my god, that was so awesome. And
he
then
pulls
it's
out
like
the little
it
chicken.
looks like a little no, it's an owl.
Was that a little baby owl? Is that what that
Of
was?
course. That's
Okay.
what's in Doc, that's what's
I
in
thought it
his
was a little chick, but
head.
yes, a
Because
little
it's
owl. So
well, it looked
that
like a
makes
chick,
sense.
but it's a bird. Because it's the owl. That's what's inside of him. And she says, dig it out. And then he digs out. That's supposed to be the
Yeah.
it's
Well, no,
I think it's
I realized
brilliant.
that, but to me it looked like a little chicken. But yeah, it makes
It
sense
does
that it
look
would
like
be
a
a little
little
owl.
chicken. Yeah.
Um,
And then
I,
it's just a piece. Then it's actually just a piece of his brain, which I love too.
and he's
That
like,
he
oh
actually
no.
just dug a piece of his brain out because I think that there were absolutely real moments there. I think
Mhm.
that she really was questioning him at that time, even though she's one of the Furies asking him these questions. I feel like some of that was actually real, and it's the way he's interpreting it.
Mhm.
So, like, I dug it. I don't know.
Yeah. I really appreciated the end when she, when it's revealed that she's actually there and she survived. She's all bandaged
Yes,
up,
I love that.
and
She's got what is she wearing? I don't
she's.
know.
Oh, I
it looked
said
like
that's
looked like
the
a
tarp
trash
from the
bag.
woodpile. It was
Yeah.
the tarp from the
Okay,
woodpile.
okay.
Yeah. There's a
That
scene
made
where he
me
walks
laugh.
over, notices it's gone, and then we don't.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about it when she takes the mask off and how she's like bejeweled and it's so 80s. I mean, it's so
Yeah, and some of that drew me out. Some of that, like that particular scene,
really.
that drew me
But
out
you
of the
don't
movie.
do you like Jello movies?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I
But
would question that if you do.
That's
Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
that's
I'm
fine.
just kidding. I'm
Um,
just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I
But
mean,
when
I'm
I
not
watch,
like a huge fan of them, but I do enjoy,
yeah,
the good '70s Jello.
Yeah,
these are
I thought that was great. It's hard. It does have some, some mind screws because it's like
yeah.
he is. I would say it would be really easy to say he's hallucinating,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
yet at the same time, she
She saw. Mm-hmm.
saw
Yep.
them running. I saw both of them. The one, a lot of walking back and forth, but another one a face in
Yep.
the window.
Yep.
So I don't know. But
Yep.
but I love the. In a way, I didn't love it, but I loved it because it showed how he was screwing, how he was justifying and playing games with himself and wouldn't admit that he was a murderer and a thief. You know, it was always this, it's this thing inside my head. Well, who picked me? Well, who kissed me? Well, who saw me first? Well, who, you know, he's never going to admit that
he's the problem.
And then I don't know what was the deal. He had to. I also liked the dog, because the first time we see the dog is when he's picking her up. The dog is
one of the Furies. Like, that's one of the.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the. I think one of the Furies is like a Gorgon.
The snakes, yeah.
And one is.
And one has a dog's head, like.
Yeah, and then the other one is. Oh my God, the wooded.
The tree thing.
Sorry,
yes,
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to distract, but
well,
I did love that map.
Yeah,
wasn't that cool?
I thought so.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
But the first time we see the dog is when he's picking her up to go on this trip, and the dog runs down the sidewalk barking and growling in between them.
Yeah,
which is sort of trying to warn her off, I guess. And then later we see the dog come running out of that barrel. That was awesome. It's like, oh, anyway, yeah, he's just loonier than a fruitcake. And this is like his third kill in this location, but this is a new beginning. He's had, we don't know how many other ones, quite a few, I think is what he says when she asks him. But yeah,
the way he says it too, it's like he's actually proud of himself.
Right.
See? Like,
right.
So that's an interesting thing too. And I think that was a great delivery, because he's like, this is my new crew of women that I've acquired here. Yeah, that was interesting.
Well, there's some little touches in there too where he, when he attacks Meredith, Sarah Lynn's character, and then she's laying there in a pool of blood, then he strips her dress off and goes and burns it. And when he comes back, he doesn't notice it, but she's rolled over. When he walked away from her, she's laying flat on her back. And
but I didn't know if it was some time between that, because he masturbates in that time too. So there is. So I wasn't sure. Yeah, I wasn't sure if he moved her or did something. So I wasn't completely.
Yeah, you never know. You never know for sure what the time lapse was.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah. I had a few jump scares in this one too.
Yeah, there was a few. But that's what you were mentioning, like when she's talking to him, that so that it may be really her, and he's just perceiving it differently and with the unreal. But that kind of goes to my point. It's like when it's dialogue with the two of them talking together, against each other, the two-hander, if you will. That's when the movie shines for me. Like when he goes out, like when the light goes on, right? And he goes, "Well, I don't have a motion sensor," and then the light comes on, and then he goes out there and goes, "Are you messing with me?" He immediately thinks it's her doing it, which is exposing himself, and he doesn't even know it, right? He doesn't even, and there was just like these dialogue.
But how is you see? I didn't feel like that was exposing himself. I would ask someone, "Are you messing with me?" Like I would ask someone that.
Well, not the way he said it.
Well, sure, fair enough. Because I don't immediately jump to like, some other worldly sort of. So I will say that I do think that where the movie was weak is in the music. So if the music had been more on par with something from the late 70s, early 80s, I think it would have made a little bit more sense. It would have been more obvious as to what they were doing.
The record they wanted to play? Is that what you're talking about? Or
I'm talking. The record was awesome.
Yeah,
Manfred Mann's LSD. God, what an awesome song.
No, I mean the score. The score was not.
It's not synth, right? So
it wasn't the same as the whole. Yeah, it didn't have the same feel as those. So I wonder if that kind of took away, because the music is kind of important in movies like that to help it. It just kind of creates that whole feel. So that was a weaker point. That's all I'm saying. But I did like I liked the song a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the record. All right. Well, there you go. Wow. What a discussion. That's our, yeah. Let's get into it. Let's find out what our score is. And our favorite
Yeah.
scene. Holy cow. Could be a brain twister. Crystal,
I
what
know.
what is
It's a hard
your
one.
score and your favorite scene?
So I'm giving this movie a 4.25, actually.
Noise.
Yeah, and
Wow. Okay. That might
yeah,
be
I
top 10
know.
material.
It's yeah, it's totally possible. I think the longer it sits with me, the more it kind of just makes sense. Maybe I'll watch it again too. Maybe I'll take a cue from Jeff and like that'll probably help a little bit too, to like get it all straight in my head. And so my favorite scene is one that you weren't crazy about, Doc. I love that autopsy embalming scene. I think it all made sense to me. It all worked.
Well,
I know it
so
was weird. I know that creature was weird, but
so was the creature's face supposed to be ovaries?
I didn't.
Because it had the
I thought
slender
it.
face
I
and the
thought it
eyes
just had
came out.
like legs. Like I thought it was like kind of like.
Oh,
legged
but
or
its
something.
eyeballs were at the end of those things, right?
So why? So you think
Well,
that
they
was,
were in right
that
in
was
the
ovaries?
yeah. I don't know what that was.
I thought
But
it was just weird.
I'm just
It
asking
kind of
because
reminded
it's
me of something you'd see in like a Frank
Henenlotter film.
Brain
Yeah, yeah.
Dead.
Henenlotter. Yeah, yeah. Because it did have feel like that little the brain sucker
Yeah.
thing that was in the, I can't remember the name
So
of the movie.
I dug it. I was like, okay, you got me. You got me.
It was a little, well, yeah.
It's not for everyone.
Yep.
I do think this movie is not for everyone. I think it's kind of like you're either gonna go with it or not, and I get it. I get it either way.
Okay. Because I thought it was representing women, but anyway, that was me.
But why would it represent women if it was his?
Because that's his target. When you pull the mask off,
Yes.
that's the target. Jeff, I don't know. I'm making shit up. Okay, Jeff, what was your score and your your favorite scene? No, I'm
Well,
literally
I'm going 4.25 also.
Wow.
I enjoyed this a lot, and like I said, I'll watch this again. By the way, I watched Slashback again with the subtitles. I liked it.
Oh, good.
Anyway,
Okay. Flashback on the flashback.
So I got to talk about that. I just love that Manfred Mann song, and that's from this. I'm pretty sure that's from the '60s. And the title of the song is LSD, even though there's nothing in the song that talks at all about LSD. I don't know if it's supposed to stand for something, but I love that sort of bluesy rock stuff. All right, with the guitar riff, and I don't know that I liked the scene you guys were talking about with the people dancing on the sheet shimmering there or whatever it was, but I thought it was interesting. I didn't dislike it. Let's put it that way. I was trying to figure out what they were trying to say. So, favorite scene, I can't even. God, there's so many to pick from. I have a long list. I'm going to say when, and I'm going to kind of grab two things from this. When she was leaving he left her and said, "I'm going to go open up, get your stuff out of the car."
Mm-hmm.
And first she hears the voice say "leave" really loud, and then when she goes to shut the trunk, all of a sudden there's a scream and she sees something in the trunk that was just I like jumped at that.
I watched that twice. I rewound it.
I did. I rewind. I did.
Rewound.
I had to take it back.
I guess it is still rewinding, even if it's digital. I guess not the way I said it, but the way I meant it. Yeah.
Hit the back button.
Hit the back.
That just doesn't sound as good.
Button. Yeah. All right. So for me, I think the discussion upped it to a 3.75. I was going to say 3.5.
Good.
Because I didn't really think of it in the terms, Crystal, that you're presenting it, and under that microscope, it comes out. It makes a little more sense. It ties together that way, and I didn't make that connection going in, but I did. Like I said, for me, it's whenever they interact, and my favorite part about that is actually when she comes after she gets the call from her friend. and says, you know, you
Oh,
need
yeah.
to leave right now.
You in
And
danger, girl.
you're in danger, girl. Right.
Yeah,
And she's
exactly.
it's 100% suspicion at that point, right? She's coming
Mhm.
out and she's like, you know, there's danger around every corner, and that for me it was so intense and so visceral right there.
It was. That was a
Yeah.
good one. I wrote that down too. That was one of them.
Right, and
Well,
then
you know
you know,
what?
of course,
her
They didn't
heightened
they didn't
senses and the
ruin it.
clock
Sorry.
ticking.
well,
and all
didn't
that
it have
stuff.
like her face too, like doing the camera
Yeah.
face
Yeah,
at
yeah,
that
yeah,
time?
yeah.
So it was a lot of really cool
Movies
stuff going on.
would usually drag that out too, and they didn't. And I appreciate that. That they like did it, they gave you that, and then they paid you off. They didn't like I felt like they paid you
That
off
could have been the
every
entire
time.
movie, right? That could have been the rest
Yeah.
of the movie. Is
Yeah,
really you're
because
wanting.
exactly. Like most movies be like, oh, okay, you're gonna do this, and he's gonna wait, and then yeah, you're gonna have a flat tire or something, bleh.
I love that they didn't use the "I got no signal" trope.
Oh yeah, me too.
I get
They
that-
didn't.
that
They didn't
gets
do
old.
any, and I appreciate that. They
Yes.
knew what
yes.
they wanted to tell, and they just told it.
Sorry,
Yep.
Doc. We interrupted you.
Yeah,
no,
we
you didn't. No,
totally
you didn't.
took you.
No,
Yeah, sorry.
No, I got my favorite scene out there. All right, well there you go. That's our review of A Wounded Fawn. It is streaming on Shudder now, so you can check it out. We know you have Shudder, so check it out and let us know what you think about it in the comments down below. Wow, Crystal, Jeff, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
This was. I
Yes,
loved
it was.
Well, we can
And
always count on
thank you,
Shudder to
Shudder.
bring us
it.
something
Yeah.
interesting. But, we don't always like it. I mean, we mostly like them. I will say that most of the time we like what
It's
Shudder
something.
offers. So every once in a while.
Well,
And even when it's bad, it's usually kind of okay.
Well, there's usually a reason for it, right? There's
Mhm.
it may have tried something, but just it did failed. There's never.
I
I don't know if there's ever really shit coming out there.
I think we know we all like Josh Ruben and Sarah Lynn.
And Travis
Yeah.
Stevens.
Travis Stevens has kind of got better each of these three movies in his directing duties, I think.
I think this is more confident, but I still like Jacob's wife.
I
Oh, that's a
love
great
Jacob's
one too.
wife.
Well, that's
Yeah.
All
right.
Barbara Crampton.
Okay, I got to say one more thing about him.
Please
I
do.
totally think he's like a woman's director, and I know that sounds like this is a very pro-feminist film, and I feel like Jacob's wife, like one of the things that Barbara Crampton said about the movie was that she wanted to produce this movie because she's an older woman and she found it hard to get roles, and so that's a good thing. That's a beautiful thing. That
well,
he's,
that's a
you know.
he was like that in the girl on the third floor too.
Yeah, see, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. All right. Well, keep it up, Mr. Stevens. All right. Crystal, Jeff, let's say goodnight. Let's get out of here.
Doc,
Good night.
good night. Let's get out of here.
Gruesome Magazine.